We're going to make a bat cage. First thing you need to have is what they call a fender washer. It's a washer about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, be better. Large washer with a small hole. Then you want to drill 6 holes in it. 4 of them north, south, east, west. And then in between 2 of those, drill another hole. And then opposite that, the 6th hole. So the first 4 holes are going to support the cage. The other 2 holes are going to be where you hang the hook so you suspend the cage. Okay, so those holes are bigger than the wire. Just make sure it's bigger than the wire. The wire that we use is a reinforcement mesh for concrete work. It comes in 2 forms. One is in a little strip like this. Here it's about $8. Or it comes in a large roll, and that roll is like 5 feet high and 150 feet long. Problem is it costs about $100. You could probably get 90 plus bat cages out of a roll. Out of a strip like this you can get 2. So there's quite a bit of waste. What you have to have is 6 holes high. It's 6 inches by 6 inches, so about 15 centimeters by 15 centimeter squares of a heavy wire. Try to get some that isn't all covered with rust. It rusts really easy if it's left out in the elements, so later on you're going to have to paint it. So to make 2 of these cages, you need 6 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This thing is 7 high plus a little bit, and 8 squares, full squares wide. So I like to use these small bolt cutters. This is a pretty heavy wire, and just normal cutters are difficult. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 full squares. So you want to cut on the outside. So it's going to be 2 bat cages. And you have if you happen to get the roll, instead of 7 squares high, it's 10 squares high. So you can get 3 cages in a 4-foot section. Okay, so the next thing, the bat cage itself is 2 squares high. And then you've got, so there's 2 here, 2 here, and this inside part is going to be the support. So now what you need to do is cut down low and up high, down here and up here, so that what you're going to end up with is each one of these sections is going to have 4 supports. Okay, so this is going to be the outside. There. 2. So let's hope that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now I just cut in between these guys to separate them. that's going to fit back pretty good. Now to get these things apart, what you want to do is get rid of this little inside part. Now you can't pull it apart, it's really difficult. But it twists, and what you want to try to do is break that weld without breaking the support. Usually if you wiggle it back and forth a couple of times, they'll break off of there pretty easily. Okay, so there's our cage. And these are going to be our 4 supports. So to hook the cage together, I use these little things. They're called hog rings. What they are is a little U-shaped deal. It's kind of pointed, and when you close it, it forms a little ring or a little circle. Of course, you could use something like baling wire or a piece of wire or something. So these are just simple. They hook together pretty nicely. If you can get across that opposite caddy corner across there so that that makes a nice little support. Otherwise these rings will just slip up and down, but if you're using a flat sheet like this, you got to kind of form it into a ring for the cage. If you buy the roll, then it's already a circle, so it's a little easier in that regard. So that's going to be our back cage. Now, this 1 foot thing is a little bit too long for the feeder to hang in there just nicely, so I usually cut about 3 inches off of there just to shorten that up a tiny bit. Next thing you want to do is each one of these you want to bend it towards the outside, give it a little kink in there, because you're going to push that thing through that little washer that you drilled. So we can just fold that down towards the center. Okay, now this is that washer. We're going to just slip it in those four holes. Just go ahead and bend it back nice and hard there, because eventually you're gonna fold this over anyway, because that's just going to keep it all together. Just kind of fold that wire across there. Want some heavy pliers or to do this. These are just a little bit light, actually. last one. Okay. Alright, so that's got that. That's going to be the cage. Okay, now to suspend that from your feeder, I just use like a clothes hanger. There's a special little clothes hanger that they use in dry cleaners that has a cardboard part, and they use it for hanging up pants and stuff like that. The nice thing about it is it's a continuous loop up here. It's not a single wire, but it's a double twisted loop, and you can use that to be the support. Okay. This one's really set up for a trap, so we'll just modify it a little bit. Okay. Alright, so that's the cage. Now we need to get a hook. Okay, so what I do is open up that little eye bolt so that it makes a hook so you can hang the feeder on there nice. You can use a couple of washers to make sure this thing doesn't float around in there too much. Okay. Try to get the hook so that it's inside one of these openings here, because that'll make it easier to move the feeder back and forth. That's the cage. That's really most all of it. The next thing you have to do is put a bottom on it. The bats will come up, the feeders hang up in, and the bats will come up through the bottom there and make a little maneuver. They're really good at that. So I like to use this plastic chicken wire. It's kind of a 1-inch mesh wire. And then again, I use these little hog rings to clip it to the bottom. Makes it nice and easy. Okay. This stuff cuts pretty, it's just plastic, so it cuts off there nice. You really have to put some kind of bottom on it, because the bats do get up, they figure it out, they get down in there. The only other problem we had was one year when the bats were really strong, really bad, lots of them. They actually came down through the top here and got down to the feeder. So that's it. That's what it looks like. Now what you want to do, well, before you put the bottom on it, you want to paint it. Get some kind of spray paint. Paint the wires, turn it up, try to get it as much as you can all around. 1 can of spray paint will do 3 or 4 of these things. But if you don't, then they're going to rust. They rust very easily. And after that, you're ready to go. Hang a feeder up in there and you're good.